Everything you've ever asked for has already been granted. It's stored, waiting. The universe didn't fail you. You're the one who can't receive. While you catalog evidence of what went wrong, document injustices, and prove you're right about your limitations, there's a vibrational vault with your name on it. Every relationship you desired is there. Every healing you requested. Every prosperity you asked for. The same energy that keeps planets in orbit answered your requests the instant they were born. Your parents spent their lives justifying why they didn't have. Your grandparents did the same. And now you repeat the pattern, choosing to be right about scarcity instead of entering where everything already exists. 80% of your conversations describe what's missing, and you keep receiving more of what's missing. The only question that matters: why do you insist on staying outside of what's already yours?
Something works behind everything. A force that keeps planets in orbit, that turns seeds into trees, that transforms cells into complex bodies. Many call this God. Others prefer universe, infinite consciousness, unified field. The name matters less than the nature of this force. It responds, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter whether you believe in it or not. This source energy functions as a vibrational consensus of everything each being has ever asked for itself, from single-cell organisms seeking light to complex human beings dreaming of love. Source registered every request, heard every desire. And here's what few understand. This source doesn't push against anything, doesn't resist any request, doesn't judge who deserves to receive or not. It simply maintains, stores, and responds to every request made by any consciousness in the universe. Imagine the most perfect equality of opportunity that can exist, an environment where everything you ask, Source grants, without exception, without cosmic credit analysis, without a committee evaluating whether you worked hard enough. The response always comes, always. This disturbed me when I first understood. If Source grants everything, why do so many people live without what they desire? Why is there so much lack, so much frustration, so much feeling of unanswered requests? The answer transformed my understanding of desires and manifestations. Source answered every request you've ever made, or will make in your entire life, for one underlying motivation. Just one. You believe you'll feel better when you get that. It doesn't matter if you ask for money, love, health, recognition, or peace. What you really seek is alignment. You seek harmony. You seek wholeness. The car isn't about metal and wheels. It's about freedom. It's about going where you want, when you want. It's about the feeling of accomplishment when you turn the key. The relationship isn't about having a person by your side. It's about being loved. It's about being valued. It's about having someone who truly sees you. Money isn't about numbers in an account. It's about possibilities. It's about paying bills without that knot in your stomach. It's about choosing instead of surviving. We ask for things, but what we want is how those things will make us feel. This distinction repositions the question. When we understand that behind every desire exists a search for vibrational alignment, we stop feeling guilty. How many times have you criticized yourself for wanting something material? How many times did you feel you should be more evolved and desire only spiritual things? This division doesn't exist. The desire for the car carries the same essence as the desire for inner peace. Both point to the same destination: feeling good, feeling complete, feeling in harmony with yourself and the universe. The source that dwells in you wants you to experience well-being. It doesn't condemn your desires. It recognizes them as what they are. We didn't come here to deny what we want. We came to fulfill. Each desire functions as a signal pointing toward alignment, our natural state. The mechanics operate this way. You experience something. From that something, a preference is born. From that preference, a request is born. From that request, an expanded version of who you can be is born. Source becomes that expanded version in the next instant. It doesn't wait, doesn't hesitate, doesn't question. Source answered the request the moment it was born. This understanding stays with me for days. If Source answers every request, the problem was never getting what we want. The problem is something else. And it's from here that the problem reveals itself. Source energy maintains everything you've ever asked for, every improved version of your life, every desired relationship, every imagined healing, every dreamed abundance. Everything exists, everything is ready, everything awaits. The question that transforms isn't, how do I get it? It's, how do I receive what's already mine? This shifting question represents the difference between a life of struggle and a life of flow, between pushing against the universe and cooperating with it, between asking eternally and finally receiving. Your desires are valid, not because they're spiritual in the traditional sense, but because they reveal who you're becoming. Each desire indicates a direction of growth you haven't explored yet. Source hears, Source responds, Source never fails. What happens after the request, that depends on us. Imagine a society where billions of people make their personal and important requests, each from where they are, each from what just happened in their life. And when they ask, they receive. In that society, people work toward alignment with who they truly are. When they ask, they don't doubt whether they'll receive. They don't worry. They don't feel competition with others. They don't fight over resources. They don't push against other people. They don't try to make others wrong so they can be right. Sounds like utopia. Sounds like spiritual science fiction. But here's what made me stop when I understood. This description isn't of a distant future. It's of the present. It's of now. It's of how the universe actually works at this exact moment. The mechanism is already operating. Everyone is constantly asking. Source is responding to every request. All of humanity, all existence is expanding and becoming more as a result of this participation. This happens regardless of how things appear at any specific moment. The system works perfectly. Why doesn't it seem to work? Because there's a brutal difference between the universal mechanism and common human experience. The problem was never the asking and receiving system. That operates without failure. The problem is, in the disconnection most people experience between what they ask for and the capacity to receive. Society trained us for competition, taught us that resources are limited, that not everyone can have, that life is a struggle where some win and others lose, that you need to take from someone to get for yourself, that someone else's success diminishes your chances. These ideas seem so obvious that questioning them sounds naive. Of course, resources are limited. Look around. Of course, there's competition. See the job market. Of course, not everyone can have everything. That would be impossible. Would it really? Think about how much of the scarcity you observe is artificially created. Think about how much of the competition exists because everyone believes it needs to exist. Think about how many people stop trying because they already know it won't work. Belief in scarcity creates more scarcity. Belief in competition creates more competition. Belief in limitation creates more limitation. This isn't empty positive thinking, it's vibrational mechanics. When you operate from a frequency of scarcity, you become incompatible with abundance, not because the universe is punishing you, not because you don't deserve it, but because different frequencies don't meet. It's like trying to tune into an FM radio station by turning the AM dial. The signal exists, you're just not in the right place to capture it. Abundance is the natural state of the universe. Look at nature. A single tree produces thousands of seeds. A single fish releases millions of eggs. The sun emits enough energy to power entire civilizations. The universe doesn't operate in economy mode. We do. Society programmed us to hoard, protect, accumulate, defend. Taught us that if we don't fight, we'll lose. That if we don't compete, we'll fall behind. That generosity is weakness and distrust is wisdom. These beliefs create a vibrational barrier, a wall between you and everything you asked for, not because the universe put that wall there. You built it yourself, brick by brick, thought by thought, belief by belief. Here's the disturbing news. You can be right about scarcity. You can prove that resources are limited. You can show statistics, data, evidence, and keep being right, and keep not receiving what you asked for. Or you can consider that maybe, just maybe, there's another way to operate. The few who discover this don't live on another planet. They live right here. They work, pay bills, face problems. The difference is in the internal starting point. They begin by assuming that what they need exists and is available. They begin cooperating instead of competing. They begin looking for how it can work instead of cataloging why it will fail. They're not more deserving. They're not more special. They don't have secret connections with the universe. They just stopped building walls. We can do the same. It's not necessary to change the outer world first. It's not necessary to wait for society to evolve. It's not necessary to convince anyone of anything. The work is internal, individual, personal. Each person who changes their frequency from scarcity to abundance not only changes their own experience, they contribute to the collective field. They make it a little easier for the next person to do the same. They prove it's possible. The ideal society of asking and receiving doesn't need to be built. It already exists. It always has. It's functioning now. The only construction necessary is the bridge between where you are and where Source has already answered your requests. Each new generation benefits from what the previous generation fought for. This seems obvious when we look at history. Technological advances, social achievements, evolution of knowledge, all built on foundations that others established, often with sacrifice. Your great-grandfather worked so your grandfather could study. Your grandfather studied so your father could have options. Your father had options so you could have even more. The expansion is constant. Progress is cumulative. But here's an invitation that changes everything. You don't need to die for the next generation to receive the benefits of what you're asking for now. Contrast, what we call problems, difficulties, unwanted situations, serves as a catalyst for new requests. When something doesn't work, the desire for something that works better arises. When you experience illness, you ask for health. When you experience loneliness, you ask for connection. When you experience financial limitation, you ask for abundance. Contrast serves as the engine of universal expansion, never as punishment, never as error, never as a sign of the wrong path. Without contrast, there would be no new requests. Without new requests, there would be no expansion. Without expansion, the universe would stagnate. The discomfort you feel in the face of what you don't want is what generates clarity about what you do want. This left me restless when I perceived the implications. If contrast is necessary for expansion, my problems have function. My difficulties have purpose. My suffering isn't waste, it's fuel. But, and this but is crucial, the fuel needs to be used. Many people get stuck in contrast. They keep beating the drum of the problem. They repeat the story of what went wrong. They explain in detail why things don't work. They catalogue injustices. They document failures. They build legal cases against their own lives. They do this thinking they're being realistic, responsible, honest about their situation. After all, denying problems doesn't make them disappear, right? Right, but it also doesn't solve them. There's a difference between recognizing contrast and residing in it. The first is necessary. You need to know what you don't want to know what you want. The second is a trap. Continuing to repeat the problem prevents access to the solution. The mechanism operates this way. The moment of contrast launches what we can call the rocket of desire. Something bad happens, and in the next instant, you project the improved version. That rocket goes straight to the vortex, where Source begins working on the manifestation. The problem is what you do after launching the rocket. If you keep looking at what caused the launch, the problem, the lack, the difficulty, your attention stays stuck in contrast. You feel frustration, anger, sadness. These emotions indicate distance between where you are and where your desire already is. If you move your attention toward the direction of what you asked for, without denying the problem existed, but without continuing to feed it, your frequency begins to adjust. You approach vibrationally what you desired. The key is in using contrast as a springboard, not as permanent residence. We have the habit of proving we're right about our problems. We gather evidence. We find other people with similar problems. We form complaint groups. We validate each other in unhappiness. And the rocket of desire keeps there, waiting. The manifestation keeps ready. Source keeps maintaining everything we asked for, while we keep explaining why we still don't have it. You can spend your entire life justifying your lack. You can be right about every injustice you observe. You can have impeccable documentation of everything that went wrong. Or you can use each contrast as the launch of a new rocket, and then turn your attention to where the rocket went. The previous generation suffered. Part of that suffering generated requests that benefit you today. Your suffering is generating requests that can benefit you now, not just your grandchildren. The difference is in what you do after contrast fulfills its function. The problem already served, already launched the rocket, already generated the request. Now the question is, are you going to stay contemplating the launch pad, or will you follow the direction of the rocket? There's a concept that can permanently change how you understand manifestation. It's called the vortex. Think of a whirlpool, a spiral of energy in constant movement. Imagine that this whirlpool contains everything you've ever asked for. Every desire, every preference, every improved version of any area of your life. Everything is there, spinning, alive, real. Part of this vortex you built even before being born in this physical body. Much more you've added since you arrived here. Every contrast you experienced launched new requests. Every frustration, every joy, every moment of clarity about what you want, everything went straight to this personal magnetic center. And here's the detail that impressed me. The law of attraction isn't just waiting for you to enter the vortex. It's actively responding to everything that's inside it. Think of an active operations center where Source works your requests constantly, far from a passive waiting room. Think of this as a vibrational bank account, a vault of real fortunes that will manifest. You've made deposits your whole life. Every desire was a deposit. Every clarified preference was a deposit. Every "I want this" went straight to this account. The difference from a regular bank account? Nobody can get in there and steal your deposit. Nobody has access to your vibrational fortune except you. But, and this "but" carries weight, many people also don't go in there to receive. They stay outside. They complain they don't have what they want. They watch others receiving. They question why it's different with them. They doubt whether they deposited anything. They ask if the account even exists, and all the while, the vortex is there, full, ready, waiting for the only person who can access it. The vortex has a magnetic quality. When you ask for something, the vortex attracts everything necessary for the realization of that request. The vortex summons all cooperative components. Cooperative components. This expression deserves attention. If you asked for a loving partner with certain characteristics, appearance, attitude, financial condition, capacity to love, that partner exists in your vortex, not as an abstract concept, as a real component. Every detail of your request, the vortex summoned and assembled. If you asked for financial prosperity, opportunities, ideas, connections, paths, all of this exists in your vortex, assembled, organized, awaiting. If you asked for health, the right information, the right professionals, the right treatments, the right vitality, it's all there. The question that changes everything isn't, what do I need to do to get it? It's, am I being a cooperative component? Are you cooperating enough for the vortex to attract you inside? Where are your loves, your money, your answers, your clarity, your vitality? The vortex has a frequency. To enter, you need to be in compatible frequency. Not identical, compatible. Close enough for the vortex to pull you in. When you spend the day complaining, your frequency moves away from the vortex. When you spend the day doubting, your frequency moves away. When you spend the day in fear, your frequency moves away. Not because the universe is punishing you for negative thoughts, but because different frequencies occupy different spaces. You can't be on the frequency of the problem and access the frequency of the solution at the same time. It's vibrational physics. The vortex doesn't come to you, you go to it, and the passage isn't geographic, it's frequential. We want the universe to deliver our requests where we are, as we are, without us needing to change anything. We want abundance to arrive while we vibrate scarcity, love to arrive while we vibrate loneliness, health to arrive while we vibrate illness. Vibrational logic operates differently. The vortex is the destination. The frequency change is the transportation. Your requests are there, all of them, the old ones and the recent ones, the small ones and the immense ones, the ones you remember making and the ones that arose from experiences you didn't even consciously process. Everything is in the vortex. The only thing that's outside is you. Not because the vortex banished you, not because you did something wrong, not because you don't deserve it, simply because your current frequency is tuned to another station. The remote control is in your hand. The choice of which channel to tune into is yours. The vortex broadcasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just need to adjust the tuning. There's a profile that appears repeatedly when we study why people don't receive what they ask for. We can call it stubborn resistor. You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's you in certain areas of life. The stubborn resistor beats the drum of complaints, repeats they've asked for so long and never received, says they're tired of looking, claims all the good options are already gone, complains it's not fair, points out that their friend has things without deserving them, guarantees they'd be incredible if they had the chance, but the chance never comes. And here's the disturbing detail. The stubborn resistor is technically right about many things they observe. They have evidence. They have unanswered emails. They have documented rejections. They have past experiences proving the pattern. They have statistics showing it's really difficult. They have other people agreeing. They have entire forums validating their frustration. The stubborn resistor isn't making it up. They're observing reality. They're being honest about what they see. They're describing what happened. And they're stuck. Because being right about what's wrong keeps you vibrationally incompatible with what you asked for. You can be completely right about all the injustices in the world. You can document every failure of the system. You can prove that life was hard on you. You can show that others had advantages you didn't have, and keep being right, and keep not receiving. Here arises a question that separates those who manifest from those who just complain. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? It's not rhetoric, it's real choice. Do you want to validate your complaint, or do you want to receive your desire? Do you want to prove the world is unjust, or do you want to experience the justice that exists for you inside the vortex? These choices happen thought by thought, moment by moment. They're not grandiose decisions made once. They're micro-choices made continuously throughout the day. Every time you tell the story of what went wrong, you choose to be right. Every time you list the evidence against you, you choose to be right. Every time you explain why you still don't have what you want, you choose to be right. And every choice to be right is a choice against entering the vortex. When someone enters the vortex, something changes. The person no longer feels indignation against others, doesn't feel the need to prove anything, doesn't collect evidence of injustice. They're involved in this whirlpool where everything works in their favor. This can sound like denial of reality, like ignoring real problems, like refusal to face facts. But there's an important distinction. Two realities operate simultaneously. The reality of what already happened, where your evidence is, your proofs, your justifications, and the reality of what's forming, where your requests are, your manifestations, your possibilities. You can only look in one direction at a time. The partner you say you don't have, you have. It's done. The perfect cooperative component for you exists in your vortex, assembled with all other necessary components. It's there, waiting. You're just not where your partner is. Your partner is there in the vortex, in the frequency of realized love. You're here outside, in the frequency of lack of love. And the universe keeps placing new potential partners in place while you decide to enter. The same goes for money, for health, for opportunities, for anything you asked for. Everything is in the vortex. We're the ones who stay outside, proving we're right about why we still don't have it. Stubborn resistance has an addictive quality. There's satisfaction in being right. There's pleasure in validating complaints. There's comfort in finding others who agree with our justifications. But this comfort costs dearly. It costs what you want most. The invitation isn't to deny what happened. It's not to pretend problems don't exist. It's not to paint reality pink. The invitation is to realize you've already used contrast, already launched the rocket, already made the request. The hard part passed. Now, the only thing keeping you out of the vortex is the insistence on continuing to look at what caused the request instead of looking at where Source already answered the request. You can release the need to be right at any moment, including now. People who live in the vortex weren't born different. They didn't receive special gifts. They don't have privileged connections with the universe. They developed skills that anyone can learn, that you can learn, that work regardless of where you are now or what happened before. These people learn to talk about what they want instead of what they don't want. Seems simple. In practice, it requires constant attention. Watch your conversations for a day. Count how many times you describe what's wrong, what's missing, what bothers you. Compare with how many times you describe what you want, what works, what pleases you. Most people spend 80% of their time describing what they don't want, and then wonder why they keep receiving more of what they don't want. People in the vortex learn to praise instead of criticize. Again, it seems obvious. Watch your internal dialogue. How many criticisms do you make of yourself per day? How many of others? How many of situations? Each criticism is a frequency. Each praise is another. People in the vortex learn to maintain positive expectation, functional optimism, the kind that looks for what can work without denying that problems exist. That looks for the exit instead of cataloging obstacles. That assumes a solution exists before proving it doesn't. This training happens thought by thought. There's no shortcut, there's no trick, there's no exception. The vibration you emit determines what you can receive. If you emit frequency of lack, you attract more lack. If you emit frequency of abundance, you attract abundance. Not because the universe is rewarding or punishing you, because equal frequencies meet. It's mechanics. Here's what many people get wrong. They think they need to change their requests, that they're asking wrong, that they need to be more specific or less specific, or use other words, or visualize better. Your requests are perfect. There's nothing wrong with what you want. There's nothing wrong with how you asked. Source understood perfectly. Your vortex is full of exactly what you desire. The work isn't to change the requests. It's to change the frequency. It's to understand the process, to recognize the platform where you are, to realize that everything is working exactly as it should work. The system is perfect. You just need to cooperate with it. We complicate too much. We create elaborate rituals, 12-step methods, sophisticated techniques. And many times these things work, not because they're magically correct, but because they help us change frequency. Anything that helps you feel better is moving you toward the vortex. But in the end, the work is straightforward, difficult to execute, but straightforward to understand. You need to want to be in the vortex more than you want to complain, more than you want to validate your grievances, more than you want to be right. Often, people are right about the injustice they observe, and that certainty keeps them stuck outside everything they desire. The invitation is to release the need to be right and embrace the willingness to receive. This doesn't happen all at once. It happens thought by thought, moment by moment, choice by choice. Every time you take a thought of lack and replace it with one of possibility, you move toward the vortex. Every time you interrupt a complaint and look for something to appreciate, you move toward the vortex. Every time you choose to feel good, instead of proving your point, you move toward the vortex. It's training, it's practice, it's building new mental patterns. And it works. It always works, because the law of attraction doesn't fail. Source doesn't reject, the vortex doesn't close. The only variable is you. How long does it take? It depends on how much time you spend on the right frequency versus the wrong one. Some people change in weeks. Others take years. Not because the system is slow, because they're inconsistent. There are tools that accelerate this process. Audio frequencies designed to induce alignment states, guided meditations that train your focus, technologies that do the heavy lifting of changing your state while you simply listen. To access these tools and begin training your frequency systematically, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me."